food for women Peruvian.
Peruvian people over there in Chicago before you came to Peru?
In Chicago, I know we have a small Peruvian community, and I met a couple of people, and they told me I should come down here and try. Well, I got to say, it's been a wonderful experience here coming to Peru. This is my first time coming not only to Peru, but to South America. And all this week I've been thinking, why did I do this sooner?
What's your favorite food so far?
Yes, chorizo. Yes, yes. I had it today. I had it today. It's dynamite. I love it. Can you all cook it? That's okay.
Nice video. Man, I love watching that video from Peru, Lima, Peru, man. One of our great tour destinations. Certainly not our most popular tour destination. You know, everyone wants to talk about Ukraine, certainly for good reason. I understand that. We have some upcoming tours to Ukraine. In fact, we can talk about, and guys are talking about our countries in Asia, our countries in Latin America, and Peru is just one of those really great, well-kept secrets, if you will, although we're certainly trying for it to not be much of a secret at all. Lima, Peru is a really great, well-documented, very, very popular tourist destination. It's filled with tourists from all over the world. Very, very many beautiful women in our database there, guys, right? And I've certainly looked at the profiles from Peru, and I recognize some of the faces from our database in Peru. Some lovely women there, no doubt. So just one of our great Latin destinations for you guys to consider, those of you who have your eye on Latin America, to find your life mate. Keep Peru in mind, man. It's easy to get to. It's very beautiful. It's an incredibly clean place. Lima, Peru, great city. All right, guys, welcome to our Monday night webcast. My name is Bud. If you're here for the first time, good for you. What took you so long, for crying out loud? Where you been? We've been doing this for 20 years, but we're really glad you're here. I'm glad you found us. I want you to drive the conversation tonight, as always. We do this every Monday night to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions that we will read aloud to everybody. And we'll answer them so that, number one, you know that your question got answered. Number two, we can answer them for everybody who's listening, because when you ask a question and I read it aloud, I guarantee you there are men that are watching that'll think, huh, good question, should have asked that. So we'll do it for each other, guys, because teamwork makes the dream work. So absolutely ask your questions. Click the green box above me. It tells you how to text your question to me, and then text it to me, brother, and I'll read it aloud for everybody and answer it, and we'll do that for the next 60 minutes. Throughout the next 60 minutes, we'll also watch some great video footage of our social events from all over the world. We're doing social events in 7 different countries right now, and Lima, Peru is just one of them. It's my good friend Tommy. Man, good guys. I love watching the videos, and I recognize some of the faces, some of the women, some of the men, just people that I've met on our tours, people I admire and like a great deal. There's a great charismatic leader of men, if I ever saw one. Just standing outside of the social venue in Nikolaev. Now we're in Nikolaev. That is a great club. You know, there are only 2 places in Nikolaev where you can throw a social event. And we've done socials in both of them, and they're both great, and this is just one of them. It's a multi-level club. You can see how the stage is front and center in front of the 2 levels on the club. So you can be up on the stage when I'm addressing the women and welcoming them and thanking them for coming out to the social. I always talk a little bit about why the men are here, what we're looking for, why the women in Ukraine are so special to us, and why these guys will pay thousands of dollars to travel halfway around the world to find them. And the women, I mean, you can hear a pin drop when I'm talking, when I'm giving that greeting. I mean, they're just as quiet as can be, and they're listening to every word. They find the whole thing so interesting, not me necessarily, just the idea that men would come from America to Ukraine to meet women. It's not an old idea. I mean, excuse me, it's not a new idea by any stretch of the imagination. It's been going on for many, many years. But guys have said all the time, I think somebody even asked me last week, and I've done 3 seminars in the last 2 weekends, and guys were asking at the seminars as well. The women will ask, why are you here? What are you looking for? Why is that? Why do they ask that question? You know, don't they know why we're here? Don't they know why we're interested in meeting international women? The truth is they really don't. You know, again, they watch television. They see American television programs. You know, they see a lot of beautiful women. They see happy couples and nice houses and that sort of thing. So they just wonder, what is this all about? Why would you guys actually come all the way to Ukraine to meet wives, you know, for healthy reasons? We've heard about guys that come to Ukraine for not necessarily healthy reasons. We're aware of that. But why do good men with good hearts who are looking for wives, looking for life mates, come to Ukraine? That's a question that you'll get asked all the time. And the answer to that question is just tell the truth. I mean, the women might not necessarily understand because they don't live in your world necessarily. They will understand in time, definitely. But in the beginning, they may not completely understand when we tell them, you know, there are a lot of very nice men and women in America. They find each other, and there are many great couples and happy marriages and all of that. But for whatever reason, I just drew the short cosmic straw, man. I just haven't been one of those lucky guys. And we all know people like that, right? You know men who are, other than yourself, who are nice men with good hearts and good old-fashioned family values. They would make great husbands. They would be great life partners for somebody, but they don't have that ability for whatever reason. They just haven't met the right person. They've tried, but that just isn't happening for them, right? And we always think, man, if you ever meet somebody, it's going to be such a great guy, lucky girl. And we know women like that too, right? Man, if she ever meets the right guy. We know men and women who are single who just haven't met the right person. And then there's us. Then there's us, or you, I should say, right? And it's perfectly okay to say, hey, to be honest with you, I'm not sure why I haven't been able to meet somebody. It's not easy in our culture, definitely. And so I heard that this was a great option, and I always wanted to come to Ukraine or Colombia or Peru or the Philippines. I always wanted to just come to one of these countries and meet the people and meet the women and just see if it is in fact a good place to find a life mate. And if it is, I'll be so thankful because I'm really looking for a life mate, someone to give my love to. And that's it. They'll just go, okay. They may not completely have their mind wrapped around it, but they'll take it at face value. They'll just be thankful that you're there, man. Just thankful that they have their opportunity to meet you. All right, so you guys who came out to the seminars these last 2 weekends, thank you very much. I've been on a lot of planes and a lot of automobiles, and quite frankly, I'm beat, but we're going to get through the next hour. It's going to be rich and engaging. Your questions are coming up, which is great. Green box right above me. Text me your questions. I'll read them aloud, and I'll answer them for you, and we'll do that for the next 50 minutes or so. There will be a seminar this Sunday, guys. You've got plans for the 4th, no doubt, that probably extend into the weekend. But John Adams, our CEO, our visionary CEO, is going to be in San Diego doing a seminar on Saturday from 11 to 3. San Diego from 11 to 3. There's a Hotel Indigo in San Diego that we're going to be at. Man, what beautiful. I love the Hotel Indigo chain. I mean, their hotels are just gorgeous. So that's going to be fun. San Diego, great location. John will bring food and refreshments and that sort of thing. Plenty of coffee or whatever you want. So, hey, San Diego, this Sunday. Those of you interested in a free international dating seminar, it's a 4-hour event starting at 11 until 3. John will answer all the questions you can possibly throw at him about who we are and what we do, why we do it. Who are the women, why they're here, how do you meet them, international dating in general, the fiancé visa process, and all that good stuff. So why don't you come out if you can and end your holiday weekend on an extremely positive note, finding about how to find your life mate, your international life mate. Again, that's San Diego this Saturday. On deck, guys, 11 to 3. RSVP, please, bud@loveme.com, so we can get a proper head count, make sure everybody's sitting comfortably, and all that good stuff. Right on? Okay. All right, guys, let's get your questions in. Let's have it. Green box above me. Let's do it. David says, I just turned 53 years old. I'm looking at your website for ladies in their late 30s and early 40s. David, good for you. Your head is screwed on straight, and that's going to get you really good results. Don't change a thing. Great selection of ladies in Dnipro and Kharkov. That's true. And for those of you interested in meeting women in other cities in Ukraine or meeting women in other countries, we have a great selection of women in their 30s and 40s on our website in 8 different countries right now, and nobody's paying any attention to them because everybody's paying attention to the girls who are much younger, whether they should be or not. So for what it's worth, for those of you in your 50s and 60s and above looking at women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, that's where it's at. Keep that focus. That's going to get you what you want, that beautiful life mate. So good for you, David. I'm proud of you, man. Tom says he loves the webcasts. Tom, you are a man of high intelligence and great character. Going back to Odessa at the end of the month, good for you. Second time to meet with my sweetheart. If things go well, I will pop the proposal question. My goodness, Tom. Would you mind sharing some etiquette? Should I ask the parents for her hand first? I've already met her mother. What are some proper customs? Thank you for all you do. Hey, cool. Tom, so I tell you what, brother. If it's possible for you to ask the parents, ask the mother for permission without tipping anybody off, namely her, I think that's great. I definitely think that's a good move. Give some flowers, ask if it would be okay to ask permission. If she has a sibling or an adult aged child or somebody, a friend who can help you to make that communication and keep it on the down low so you can still keep your surprise going on, then absolutely do that. Good for you, man. That's great. Other than that, just do it from the heart, man, right? Bring flowers. And just follow your heart, be as creative as you can. I'm sure she'll say yes, and that's going to be spectacular. So update me, will you? Great, man. Fingers crossed for you, and really, really, really happy for you. Way to go. Jimmy says hi from Bama. Jimmy, what's up? Sly, you too, buddy. How you doing, man? What is the speed limit if we're driving? If you're talking about Ukraine, Eddie, let me tell you, man, man, if you can drive in Ukraine, you can drive anywhere, man. If you can drive in Ukraine, you should be in NASCAR, because I swear to God, it's 6 lanes, no rules, and the biggest game of chicken you've ever seen. And somehow, you know, they make 2 lanes into 3 lanes. They just find some way to do it. So the speed limit, actually, I don't know the speed limits in Ukraine. I apologize, my friend. I've never driven in Ukraine. I really just don't do that. But I know some guys who do. I will tell you that there are these mysterious potholes that come completely out of nowhere, especially when you're driving at night on low beams. So just be careful about that. When you get to Ukraine and you rent a car or get a car, anybody will be able to tell you what the speed limit is in Ukraine. Of course, it varies in a few places. All right, Rick says, best foreign translation phone app that will translate Russian or Ukrainian into English. Would it be helpful when having a one-time after first meeting with a woman wanting no translator present? Great question. So Rick is saying, after we've had a date with an interpreter and we want to have a date without an interpreter, is there a translation app that's really accurate when it comes to Russian and Ukrainian into English? And I'll tell you what, Google Translate is pretty good. It's got a great app. So download Google Translate, which is available in Play Store or on your iPhone. You can tell at the moment I have an Android phone, right? So do that, and honestly, when you do that, there are going to be a whole bunch of apps that come up. I've used several, but I've used Google Translate more than any. It's not perfect, and you definitely, once in a while, probably about every 10th translation, you should translate from English into Russian or Ukrainian, and then from Russian or Ukrainian back into English, just to cross-check what's being translated. And when you are writing to somebody, or when you're saying something that you want translated, guys, try and find the simplest words possible to express what you're trying to say. There are some things that just don't translate perfectly or don't translate very, very well, and you don't want to risk getting the wrong translation altogether. So just keep expressing yourself as simply as you can. And that's hard for Americans to do because we use a lot of idioms. You know, we say things like, I couldn't see the forest for the trees, which make absolutely no sense when you translate them and will just confuse somebody terribly. And we use a lot of expressions and a lot of slang, so just be conscious of what you're trying to translate as you use Google Translate. And every so often, you know, translate it back into English just to keep it honest. But yeah, Google Translate should be very, very helpful for you, man. So download it, practice it, use it, get used to it. It's a great app. You'll use it all the time when you are in Ukraine. All right, guys, great questions. Thank you so much. My name is Bud. If you're just joining us, glad you could be here. We're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so answering your questions about international dating, about us, our business model, who we are, what we do, etc., etc. So as long as your questions make sense, I'll ask them. You can text me your question by clicking the green box, and I'll answer it for you. We've got a lot of stuff going on, guys. We've got a busy, busy summer coming up. Man, can you believe 6 months of 2019 have already gone by? That's crazy. That's totally crazy, right? Yeah, how was your first half of 2009? Boy, it pains me just to say it, for crying out loud, honestly. How did that happen? How did the first half of 2019 go for you guys? Where are you in relation to the goals that we talked about in January, right? We had some very serious goals that we were talking about. Where are you in relation to finding your life mate? Are you closer in some way? I hope you are. I hope that a big chunk of time, like 6 months, has gone by with you having made really good visible progress that you can see in some tangible way from where you were in January to where you are now, and I hope you're much, much closer in some way. Very distracting video you're showing tonight, Kirk. I'm trying to keep it going, but it's not easy. Yeah, so anyway, what I said, sure. Exactly. I hope that you're closer in some tangible way that you can see. You're much, much closer to where you wanted to be in your search for a life partner. And I'll tell you what, there's 6 months left. That's a lot of time. You know as well as I do, guys, it's going to fly. The older you get, man, the quicker time passes. There's no way to slow it down. That is just how it goes. So you've got 6 months between now and the end of the year, and it's not like that has to be your benchmark. But why not let it be your benchmark? What are you doing between now and the end of the year that's going to significantly change your love life, right? It's going to significantly impact that emptiness that you're feeling right now. I mentioned at my seminars, I may have mentioned it on my previous webcast, but I read an article which led to another article which led to another article. In the last week, I've read 3 excellent articles. Excellent, but also very, very disturbing. And the first one came from Rolling Stone magazine. And it talked about, so we had the Atlantic, Rolling Stone, and then there was a third one. But these articles are talking about the epidemic of lethal loneliness among men over the age of 50 in America. It talked about, in fact, I remember the Rolling Stone article, which is just fascinating, talked about the epidemic of suicide in Western America, in countries where men are easily isolated socially, and they're alone, and they have no partner, no love life. And unfortunately, in Western countries, or fortunately, depending on what your purposes are, because I don't want to offend anybody, a lot of access to guns. And it just talked about how many men in their 50s are committing suicide. It's a very deep, disturbing, dark topic. I'm sorry to bring it up. But I've been saying for months now that there is an epidemic of loneliness among men in America. It's a huge epidemic, and probably not only men, right? But my audience is primarily men, so there's a gigantic epidemic of loneliness and isolation among men in America, and men in America don't know what to do about it. Men in America, I meet many, many men who have no idea what to do about it, certainly not what to do about it permanently. A lot of men are dealing with that loneliness by writing letters or chatting, and that's certainly one outlet, right? You get on a dating site and you find some profiles and you start communicating. Hopefully you're communicating with the people you think you're communicating with. Sometimes you are. Unfortunately, often in this ridiculous industry, that's not always the case. But you may never get on a plane and go and meet somebody, and you may not particularly care. I think there are just a lot of men that are out there that are temporarily dealing with their loneliness in some virtual way, and they're in that virtual comfort zone, which is an incredibly counterfeit place to be. And it's very, very hard for them to get out of it. But I do believe that a lot of those lonely men are dealing with you know, their loneliness in that virtual place, and they stay there for, you know, years, just writing letters or chatting or doing something other than holding an actual real girl in their arms. And then they wake up one day and just feel terrible, just feel empty and sad. They just wake up one day and they're just sick to think of how much money and time they wasted without actually having somebody in their arms to give their love to. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that in many places around the world, there are millions, literally millions of women who are also lonely and sad, and they have no options. And if you would get your butt on a plane and go and meet them, as the men in our videos that you're watching have done, you will have this experience. Great introductions, great social experience, great dates, some of the best dates you've ever had, with women are totally dialed in, they're happy, they're interesting, they're fun, very happy to be with you, very happy to have your attention, very happy to consider you for romance. It's not an exact science where everybody who meets face to face is going to be a great couple and have a great romance. Not everybody is, you know, perfect and compatible for each other, but we create an environment that a lot of people come into, so you can find a whole bunch of people that are definitely compatible, and probably someone who's very, very compatible. But you got to go to it, because it can't come to you. That's just the way of the world right now, man. But the point is, you don't have to be alone, and you don't have to settle for that virtual counterfeit thing. And you know, I've been saying that for a long time. Questions coming at you, guys. David is asking, if I find a girl and do the visa process, and we get approved, and we get the girl to the U.S., and we get married within 90 days, and then 100 days later she decides she doesn't like the USA, what happens to the visa? And does it make it harder to get a K-1 next time? It does not make it harder to get a K-1 next time, as long as you don't do anything to break the law. If theoretically you get past the 90 days and she's not happy here, then the two of you are going to have to talk about how she returns to the country that she has come from. That's, you know, talk about how to undo the marriage and how to do that. So, and I would imagine that, to be honest with you, David, I'm trying to answer a question I've never had to answer, because I've never known anybody to whom that happened to. Although I'm absolutely sure, out of the thousands and thousands of fiancé visas that are applied for and approved every year for the last, as Donald Trump would say, long period of time, many, many years, I just don't know anybody specifically. But you know what? That should be good news to you, my man, because I know hundreds and hundreds of couples, right? So I don't know exactly, you know, what the best approach is, but technically what happens is, after, you know, 100 days of marriage, if she doesn't want to stay, number one, you've got to get divorced. Number two, she's got to go back. Number three, you probably need to alert the State Department, because by then they're probably processing an application for her first green card. And as long as you just do all of those things, you know, according to the laws and the rules, and nobody does anything silly, you'll be able to do another, you know, fiancé visa later on down the road. But I also think that you should take as much time as you possibly can to be with your girl and make sure the two of you are really happy and comfortable together. She's going to come here, if she's mature at all. This is again why you definitely want to meet women who are older than 25, guys. If she's a mature person, she's going to come here understanding that she's making a commitment to marriage. She's going to, you know, whatever comes our way, we're going to deal with it. So if I'm uncomfortable, we're going to have to deal with that. And if I'm bored and sad, or there's something about America that I don't like, or I'm homesick, or I miss my family, we together are going to have to find a way out of that. And that's called commitment. So the more mature somebody is, the more they understand the depth of the commitment that they're making when they come here and get married. But the reason you have 90 days on that visa, David, is so that you can spend 90 days together and make sure she's comfortable and happy. Most couples are getting married toward the end of that 90 days to make sure. 90 days, it doesn't sound like a long time. And we would certainly like to have more than 90 days, but in 3 months' time, she can certainly settle in, get around, meet friends and family, do some fun stuff, and begin to really visualize how her life is going to go. And if there are going to be problems with her adjusting to life in America, I'm just sure you're going to feel that or sense that within that 90 days before you get married. But again, David, quite honestly, a lot of our couples go on and get married and we never hear from them again, presumably because they're doing great and they're happy and they're doing couple stuff. In which case, I don't want to hear from them again. Anyway, of course I want to hear from them, but not in too much detail. All right, anyway. Guys, thanks for your questions. A great variety of questions. This is one of the things I really like about the Monday nights. Our questions are so varied. We talk about so many things in the span of an hour, right? All right, Vito says, being in my 60s, why do you think I receive so many letters from so many young women who I believe are not age appropriate? I'm very serious about this, but it's such a temptation. Vito, you're getting those letters because the agencies that represent all of their women, the ones in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s and 50s, have learned by experience that usually men in their 60s only want to meet women in their 20s. So the agencies are promoting the women in their 20s, whether it's good for you or not, good for them or not, whether it's going to go anywhere or not, whether it's going to produce any results for you or not, because they're absolutely convinced that that's what you want. And I'll tell you what, 99.9% of the time, they would be absolutely right. I hope you are smart enough not to fall for that. I hope you are smart enough. You know, again, you could go to Ukraine. Could you meet women in their 20s? Absolutely, you could. I have a lot of guys in their 60s that meet women in their 20s. They go out on lots of dates. Nothing ever happens other than dating and buying stuff. But men do it, do a lot of it, do it for months and years at a time, so they must enjoy it. There's my friend smiling Tom. Aww. Tom is a classy guy, man. He's engaged to be married, possibly married by now. I love that guy. I'm not ashamed to say. So Vito, come on, dude. Just keep your eyes on the girls who are 30-something, 40-something. Write to them. Get over the girls in their 20s. Forget about the letters. Don't waste your time. This is the best advice any human being ever gave you in the history of human beings and advice. Do it, my man. Come on, do it. How did the seminar go in London? David, you know what? Sadly, I wasn't there, but I bet it went well. Actually, I bet it went spot on. Sly says, great job with Ukrainian women dress and shoe salesmen. A dress and shoe salesman in Ukraine. You know what? If you know what you're doing, Sly, that puts you in a very different light, I just want to say. Richard wants to ask questions of Rana. Cool. So, Richard, I would talk to Rana. I think you need to do that. I'll remind her to get in touch with your brother, okay? Want to call a woman in the Philippines, says Dan, and seeing how they speak English, I assume no translator is needed, so does anyone from AFA monitor the call? Dan, you are right. No translator is needed, and yes, somebody will be monitoring the call. Gary says, but I'm involved with AFA to find a wife. That is the intent of AFA and the beautiful, classy, elegant women on this site. Not what you see on any U.S. dating sites. Well, I don't know, Gary. There are probably some good-looking women on American dating sites. I'm absolutely sure of that. World of difference. I want to find a beautiful, classy, elegant woman. Gary, you can do it. What can the women see of our profile when they send us an initial message? Thank you, and John, for providing AFA. Well, Gary, I'll tell you what. When they send you an initial message, they may or may not see your profile. They may or may not see your pictures or your information. All of the information on your profile is available to anybody who wants to see it. And whether they see it before they send you an initial message, I honestly don't know. I do think, guys, quite frankly, the whole intro letter thing is just, I don't know. Some guys need a push, and some agencies want to be as direct and effective as possible in getting their women out in front of guys, because we have tens of thousands of guys that we're talking about in our customer database, and tens of thousands of women. All right, so we got a football stadium full of men and a football stadium full of women, and we're trying to get everybody introduced to everybody. And we have a whole bunch of independent agencies working with us around the world. You know, they're not on our payroll. They want to get things done for their women. They want to make money and be successful. So there's a whole lot of competition and drive to get those intro letters out in front of as many men as possible to get their women an introduction. That's just how the machine works, right? I've got a girl that wants to meet a husband. She's very serious. And I know there are a lot of men, I know there are a lot of women, so I'm going to get, you know, girls out in front of the guys as quickly and efficiently as possible, and I think the intro letter process is a part of that. But I think personally, guys, great advice again, just go to the search engine, forget the intro letters, turn them all off. Just turn them off. Go to the search engine and look at women who are age appropriate, right? 10, 12, 15 years of age difference, maybe 20, and I'm saying maybe. I talk to guys all the time, but I'm 58, I really look 38. You probably don't. Probably somebody complimented you once in your lifetime and you've just never forgotten that. And I've had people tell me I look younger than 53. I seriously doubt that I do. But I'm okay with being 53, quite frankly. Quite frankly, if anybody ever says to me, Bud, you look 53, I'm like, that's great. If they tell me I look 73, that'll be another story. But I think it's so important for us to look in the mirror and be happy with who we are. I really do. I think that's incredibly healthy. I don't know about you. When I see a wrinkle, I go, hey, man, battle scar. I earned that sucker. Believe me, I did. I earned that puppy, right? I mean, it's not like I wanted to be there, but when I see a wrinkle, yeah, I know exactly why it's there. Believe me, I earned that dog. And I think it's okay to look in the mirror and be happy with who you are and just be who you are in the moment instead of constantly trying to convince yourself that you're something that you may or may not be. Having said that, I certainly meet a lot of men who are in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, very, very strong, outgoing, they look great, they take care of themselves. You know, I certainly do. But I think sometimes if we look in the mirror and we feed ourselves a little too much BS, then we're going to go off in the wrong direction. And we're going to get fed BS in return, and we're just going to be spinning our wheels forever and ever. And you could do that, probably make a lot of people wealthy. And that's great, but I would rather you just go get your girl, because the girls are waiting for men like you to come and get them. And I meet these women and they ask me, where are the men that I'm waiting for? And I want you to go and meet them, all right? Gee, I hope I answered someone's question in the middle of all of that. Anyway, Melvin says, I was in Peru for the March tour. If I return in October and see many of the same ladies at the socials, will that put me at a disadvantage? Mel, I'll tell you what. I don't know if you'll see many of the same women at the socials in October or not. I'm sure there will be some new women. However, I've seen that video. Those are some fine women, man. There you go. Holy smokes, Mel. Right? Guys, Peru, I'm telling you. We haven't had a lot of, video from Peru recently. We now have some. Ken captured some in March, and we've got a bunch of really good video from Peru, some pictures to show you. The women in Peru are stunning and beautiful. We don't have nearly enough guys going there, so if you got your eye on Peru like my friend Mel, get your butt down there. Hurry up before the word spreads, it catches on, and, well, that's not going to happen. We're not going to lose all the women. Don't worry. There's plenty of them there for you. Just go, guys. Go, 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 for the love of God, and get your girl, will you? Dean from Littleton, Colorado, what are your thoughts on interacting, dating older women from the socials? How do the women feel about dating younger men? You know, Dean, to be honest with you, I think they'd probably be up for that. I doubt that's ever really an option for the vast majority of them, but I'm sure they'd be okay with it. Why not? I mean, wherever we go, the women are quite modern and modern in their thinking. If you're a good guy with a good heart and you're serious about who you're looking for, I don't think the women are going to mind that at all. David from the other Great White North, how you doing, my brother? If a tour client decides to stay an extra couple of days after the tour ends, can he still get assistance from the AFA staff with interpreters and such? So, can you get assistance? Yes. Although sometimes at the end of a tour, our staff is exhausted and they take a couple of days off. But generally speaking, yes, especially if you let us know in advance that you might need some help. Assistance, yes, David. Services, right, where we're lining up introductions and that sort of thing, you can get them. You're probably going to end up paying for them, but you know that. I know that you personally know that. I'm just answering that for the rest of the guys who are listening. But David, whenever you go back to Ukraine, you just let me know, or wherever you do go, because I will definitely let our staff know that we want to be available for you. You are my brother. Bill says, I met this one lady and I've seen her a few times in Ukraine. Her interpreter has suggested that we go on a beach vacation trip on my next visit. What's your take on this? Well, Bill, my take on that is women in Ukraine love to travel, love it, love it, love it, love it more than anything. They want to travel somewhere. They want to be on Instagram. They want to be on Facebook and VK and wherever they can be, taking pictures of themselves at the beach, having a mojito. You know, that's what they do. They just love, 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 love to do that. They're very jealous and envious when their friends or colleagues are able to do that. It doesn't make them bad people. They live in a concrete jungle or a place that's not very, glamorous and beautiful most of the time. They work 12, 14 hours day after day, week after week, month after month. Half the time they don't get paid what they should get paid, what they're supposed to get paid, or when they're supposed to get paid. There's nobody protecting them. And life is just really, really tough. So who wouldn't dream of sinking their toes in the sand while the waves pour over your feet, drinking a little mojito? I mean, shucks, right? Hell, I want to do that, for crying out loud. Man, I grew up on the coast of Maine. If you haven't been there, guys, it's also known as paradise. When I lived there, I was very young, and all I wanted to do was get the hell out and go see the world. And I saw the world, and the world's very nice, but man, I've never seen anything as beautiful as the southern coast of Maine. I would love to go back. But you know how it is, right, guys? See you in retirement on the coast of Maine. Anyway, so what that means, Bill, is the interpreter's probably hinting for the girl, or the girl is hinting through the interpreter, because a lot of men in your position, certainly not all, and I probably wouldn't be one of them right away, but I mean, a lot of men in your position will say, hey, I'd like to spend some time with you. Let's go somewhere where there's a beach. So that might be Odessa, that might be Turkey, that could be Lisbon, Portugal, that could be, northern France, that could be the Caribbean or someplace like that. And they're just throwing it out there just to see if you'd like to take a vacation by the water too. You can respond to that in a number of ways. And there are some guys that would respond to that as thinking, okay, scam, just trying to get money in a vacation and blah, blah, blah. But you have to understand the culture that you're stepping into to some extent. And guys in general, if you're going to date women from another country, you have got to put some time into understanding the culture that you're stepping into, because you're going to be impacted by it. Things are going to happen, and you don't want to mess up a good thing with a good girl when she's really just reacting as many women react from her culture. And I'll give you a quick example of that, and then I'll finish the answer to that question for you, right? So in China, you have many, many women who consider marriage, and you have many, many, many men in China who live in rural areas. They come to the city areas to find work, but China and other countries will assign their citizens to a territory. And if you're assigned to one territory, like if you're assigned to the state of Florida, you know, in another country, they would tell you you can't go to California and find work and be treated the same way that you're treated in Florida, because you're not from California, you're from Florida. So you have men in rural areas that will come to the cities and they will find work, but they find menial work. They can't buy property. They can't register as property owners in those bigger cities. So you have a lot of dispossessed men. And the women in China who want to marry somebody want to live in an environment that's relatively secure. So one of the first questions that women in China will ask their local men if they're considering them for marriage is, do you have an apartment? Do you own an apartment? You know, the government, you know, gave apartments to their citizens in China, and then families passed them down. And so many men who live in urban areas own their own apartment. They don't rent. Their security is not up for grabs. And that's one of the first things that women will ask, because it's important to the people in China. Well, if you go to China and you date the women in China, a woman might ask you, do you own your home? And they may not understand that you can be perfectly secure in America renting for years and years and years and years and years. You can explain that to them and they probably will understand that and everything will be okay. But that is the reason that they ask that question, because that is just one of the first questions they would ask a local man if they were considering somebody for marriage. So now you know that what she's really asking, you know, it's not like she wants to take your home. Why did she ask me, do I own my home? So she can take it? That's not at all the reference. The reference is, are you secure? Are you financially secure? Are your feet on stable ground? So that if I come to America and we get married, I'm not going to be in any risk of being homeless. And of course, you know, that's not really a necessary question for them to ask, but it kind of sort of is culturally. So you have to understand the culture that you're stepping into, ask questions about it, trust the people who are giving you reliable information so that you will understand the context of the things that you're experiencing. And Bill, I would just write back and say, you know what, I love to go to the beach. I absolutely love to do it, dream of it. There are several places I've been to. San Diego, love the beaches in San Diego, right? Or wherever. You know, northern Netherlands, the beautiful long beaches in the north of Netherlands in the summertime. So whatever, just go and just, I've been to some that I'd love to go to. There are a few that I'd love to show you, and there are some I'd love to go to for the first time with you. And Bill, if you're prepared to do that sometime soon, maybe we should go to the beach sometime soon. Maybe we should talk about that. What are your ideas? Where would you like to go? Where do you dream of going? What do you think? Ask her how she feels about it. If you're not prepared to do that, then just write back and say, I would love to do that after we meet each other, after we spend more time together, as we get closer together. I think that would be a lot of fun to do. And I bet that will be a great answer that she'll be happy to accept. It's a great question, so thanks for asking. All right, guys, great questions. We've got a little bit of time left. I'm going to answer some more of them for you. Hope you're enjoying the video from China. Recent China social. All right. Mark says, I'm just nervous about what to say to the ladies at the social, especially since I'm a little shy. Well, Mark, you tell your translator, hey, translator, I'm a little shy. So help me to get, introduced, and just help me to keep the conversation going. The translator will say, okay, great. Tell me about yourself, Mark. Tell me, take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to talk to your translator before you go out and meet the women. So you sit with your translator and you say, look, I'm a little bit shy. Can I get you something to drink? And then let's just spend a little bit of time talking, about things I would like the women to know. And then if I forget, just remind me to tell them. So she'll say, great, tell me about your work. What do you do for work? Tell me about your family, your friendships, your relationships, your hobbies. Tell me about why you're here. What are some things that you like to do? What was the last great movie that you saw? Concerts, music. Your interpreter will ask those things. And if she doesn't, just tell her those things. And then as you're talking to the women, she'll say something to you like perhaps you'd like to tell her about, why you came to Ukraine, the decision behind why you came to Ukraine. Or she'll say perhaps you'd like to tell her a little bit about your family and your work. The interpreter will help you to keep the conversation going, and the woman certainly will as well. And you know what? If you're a little bit shy, she'll pick up on that. The women will pick up on that right away, believe me, and that's okay. In the same way that many men are attracted to very beautiful women who are a little on the shy side, there's something about that. I know you understand what I'm talking about. I'm absolutely sure that there are a number of women who identify, first of all, if you're shy, that probably means that you're not a social player. They'll love that, right? That probably means that you're typically somebody who says things that you mean. You know, your personality isn't so gregarious that it's a little hard sometimes to figure out if you're being sincere or if you're saying things for the first time. Do you know what I'm saying? So there are many positives to being shy or being perceived as shy. You just tell your interpreter, help her to get to know you, and don't worry, dude. Don't worry about it. Another thing you can do. There is a webcast somewhere in our YouTube channel, or you can write to me, bud@loveme.com. I'll try and find it and send it to you. But I did a webcast not long ago which gave you guys a list of open-ended questions to ask on dates. Do you remember that? It was one of my greatest hits. And so take a list of open-ended questions with you. You know, spend some time memorizing the questions that you want to ask. You know, you're going to ask her questions so that she can do more of the talking. If you're a little bit shy, it might be more interesting to let that happen, right? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your work. What do you enjoy most about your work? What do your friends say about you? You know, tell me about your hobbies. How long have you been doing that? What do you like about it? Interesting. So, you know, ask. You know, tell me about your parents. You know, how did they fall in love? Where did they fall in love? Where are they from? You know, just ask questions to help her talk. Maybe that's a great way. Just have a whole arsenal of open-ended questions that will invite her to talk and keep the conversation flowing. If you're a little bit shy, there are ways you can kind of guide her to do most of the talking. I hope all of that was helpful for you, my friend. More importantly, Mark, don't worry about it. Dude, don't worry about it. Go get your girl, for crying out loud. These women, man, they're looking for a nice guy, and they're so lonely and sad without somebody. The last thing they care about is whether you're shy or not, dude. Mike says, I'm a platinum member. I've been writing a girl who's in Miami. Can the discount that I get for being a platinum member go towards the introduction fee to the girl in Miami? Mike, no. Sorry, my friend. So sorry. But we can certainly arrange an introduction to the girl in Miami for you. Belvedere, Illinois. Holy crap, Jerry. No kidding. Really? Used to drive through Belvedere all the time. Quiet little town. How willing are the women to exchange email, phone numbers, etc. at the events? At the events, they are extremely willing to exchange their personal contact information if they like you, which is about 90% of the time. And 10% of the time, if they don't like you, they probably still like you. They just may not interested in dating you because they feel for whatever reason they may not be what you're looking for, or they may feel there's just some issue of compatibility. What I really like about the women in the countries that we go to, they're very friendly, they're very respectful, they're very mature, they're easy to talk to, and if for whatever reason they don't want to date you, and most of the time they'd be perfectly happy to date you, but if for whatever reason they're not up to it, you know, they'll either tell you directly or they'll kind of hint around, but most of the time, you can see it actually in our videos. You can see guys that have their phones out and they're, you know, writing somebody's contact information into their cell phones. Right? So you can easily see that the men are getting the contact information from the women at the social events. Typically, that is absolutely no problem at all. Yeah, man. Jason's question, on the Ukraine tour, do we use your company translators or can we use our own? Most of the time, Jason, you will use our company translators, most of the time. There may be some circumstances where you can use your own. That will almost always be up to the girl. If the girl tells you she's not comfortable using your translator, many men would tell you that's a scam. I will tell you it's usually not a scam. And here's why. Very few guys know this, but when we're looking at all these beautiful women in Ukraine, and the same is true of the women in China, when you're looking at all of these beautiful women, most of them do not come to us on their own. They don't come to our website on the internet, fill out a profile, and join our website. Ah, there's my buddy Scott. They don't usually join on their own. They find us by way of a local agency that works on the ground. You know, they walk by a window one day, it says marriage agency, meet interesting foreign men or something like that. Or maybe they meet somebody who knows somebody, but the agencies that are out there, we call them affiliates, bring probably 80% of the women in Ukraine to us, and the other 20% are bought by our 3 great offices in Ukraine as well. That's a very rich 20%, and that's a very rich 80%. Those affiliate agencies, and by the way, anybody you've ever heard of who does what we do uses affiliate agencies just like we do. Probably the same ones, which is why you often see a profile on 5 different sites, right? Because the independent agency that recruited that profile is working with 5 or 6 different sites. So what? So because of that, you know, essentially the affiliate agencies are like, again, real estate brokers. who have a lot of houses to sell, and they're trying to bring those houses in front of a market full of buyers. And real estate brokers, as you know, they're not on anybody's payroll. They work on commission by getting it right, by building those relationships, by getting to know what the buyers want, by getting to know what the sellers want, and being able to get compatible buyers and sellers, if you will. It's a terrible analogy, but it works. You understand what I'm saying? In front of each other. So in some cases, people in Ukraine, women in Ukraine, work with a specific agency who knows them, knows their background. They work with a specific agency and they're comfortable with their interpreters. They have an agreement many times with the agency, to use their interpreters so that the agency or their interpreters make money and benefit from the relationship. Just like a real estate broker will tell you, I can totally help you sell this house to a really great buyer, but you know how this goes, right? You can't go winking at the buyer, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's go off the grid and do this ourselves without you. I got to get paid, right? I'm going to make this happen for you, but you got to keep me in the loop. That's how we do it. Are we in? Are we good? Pinky swear? Here we go. That's definitely the agreement that a lot of women have with their agencies. I completely understand that, and I respect it and get it. If we don't like that, then we can go to Ukraine, walk around and meet women on the street. Somebody has put in a lot of work and a lot of money and a lot of effort to bring these women to us, and we just have to respect that they've got to get paid, and they're part of our model, and we can't put, several hundred agencies around the world on our payroll. We're not going to do that. So every now and then, if you want to use your own interpreter and a girl's had a couple of dates with you and she's comfortable with you and she agrees it would probably be fair to use your interpreter, many times a woman will say, okay, no problem. But probably on those first couple of dates, she's going to want to use her interpreter for her own level of comfort, and if you're a smart guy, you'll go with that. But again, don't overpay, right? You pay every interpreter, your interpreter, her interpreter, anybody's interpreter, the same amount of money. And if you need to know what the going rate for an interpreter is in a given country, you just let us know and we'll tell you. And then stick to it. Yeah, man. Wow, you guys. Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, I'll try and get as many as I can in for you here, guys. Appreciate your questions so much. Here we go. James, how you doing, my man? The great Northeast. I'll see you in Kiev next week. Can you help me out? What hotel will we be at when we come to Kiev next week? I can, James. It's in your agenda. So please look for your agenda/itinerary. It may be in your spam folder, so look at that. I'm not going to announce it in front of everybody here. But if you need to know, I'll shoot you an email or you can call me and I'll be happy to let you know. But it's also in the itinerary that we sent out to you, okay? Also, when I leave on the 28th from Odessa to Kiev, do I need to take my bag with me when I get to Kiev on the way back? Again, James, this will be a question you can ask when we get to Ukraine, because there's been some confusion around exactly what airlines you're taking and where you're going to be. So just show us your tickets, dude, when you get into Ukraine with us. Okay, James, let's take 5 minutes just to go over your tickets so that I fully understand, or we fully understand, what you're doing with the airlines, and then we can give you a spot on, take it to the ATM, reliable answer to those questions, all right? Right on, James. See you soon, buddy. David says, for those of us who do not enjoy perfect health, well, I don't know, David, you look like you're in perfect health, and depend on prescription medications, are there any problems carrying these meds while crossing borders or going through security or passport control? No, there is not. I mean, I have never heard of anybody having any problem taking their prescription medicine. As long as you have your prescription medicine in the original bottle or the original, I would do that. So you need something that looks like it was given to you by a prescription, by a doctor, by a pharmacist. If you have a copy of your prescription or want to photocopy it to take it with you, maybe that's not a bad idea. I've never heard anybody have a problem bringing their prescription medication into Ukraine or into Russia when I was going to Russia on tours, or into Colombia. I went to Colombia on tours. I would imagine most countries are the same way. I mean, it's dangerous for you to not have your prescription medicine, right? They don't want you to they don't want you to be in trouble or hurt or sick. If there's any question about something in particular that you're bringing, have a copy of your prescription with you. Maybe that might not be a bad idea. Maybe a note from your doc. I would imagine if you do all of that, there will never be a problem with you bringing that stuff in. And again, guys, with your prescription medicine, you always take that in your carry-on luggage. Do not put it in your checked-in luggage, because if for some reason an airline loses your bag, your checked-in bag, you don't want to be without your prescription medicine, right? Right. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, man? Did the group tour last year? Yes, you did, during the Euro Club this year in Kharkov. Good for you. Some great women in the 35 to 50 range in Kharkov. Man, my message is getting through. And I'll tell you what, Jeff's a stand-up guy, so I'm not surprised. Hoping that they're not just on the site, but will really be available. Jeff, don't doubt it, brother. Just go. You're a handsome guy. You're a swell guy. No doubt you're going to meet all kinds of those women on your list. Last year I was there. Be about 300 women at a social. Yeah, nice. So, okay, cool. Just hoping things will be good as an individual, because he's on his own this time. Jeff, don't worry. My friends in Car Club will take care of you. You are right. Tons of women between 35 and 50. Nobody's dating them. Nobody's paying any attention to them at all. But you most certainly will go and reap the reward of that. Great focus. Would you agree, Bud, says Eddie, most should take their time and build a relationship. Good relationships don't happen overnight. Yes, Eddie, absolutely, that's true. Absolutely, that's true. Build it, test it, have a few fights, come shining through, be stronger as a result of it, have a lot of love and a lot of romance, build your friendship, get around the language barrier. Absolutely, Eddie. Take as much time as you need, guys, before you do the fiancé visa. Take as much time as you need, but always do what you say you will do. Always keep your promises around what you tell your girl. Be reliable, certainly be honest. Be a stand-up guy, and I'm telling you, the world is full of women that are ready for you and want you, and will gladly reciprocate. David says, after spending some time speaking with a lady at a social, how do we get away from her and others at her table without hurting feelings or appearing to be disrespectful? And I'll tell you what, guys, there's an excellent chance that every girl at the social wants to, you know, meet and mingle and meet other people. I think that's healthy for everybody. So you have an interpreter, right? We didn't always do this. In fact, I don't think, David, you've been on a tour since we started doing this. But in Ukraine and everywhere we go, we pair you up with a translator partner. My friend Chris is so funny. This girl's kissing him, and he's like, well, I don't know, it's kind of soon. If I didn't know any better, Chris was a little shy. So we pair you up with an interpreter partner whose job is to make sure you get around the room, and she's not going to let you sit forever at one table and talk to one girl, all right? So you just tell your interpreter, hey, just make sure I don't sit there and get too carried away, right? I want to get up and move around and meet some people. And it's perfectly okay to say to somebody, you know, I'm going to get up and move around, I guess, and meet some people, even though I really like you, and you know, I'll come back and say goodnight to you before the night is over. And I guarantee you, if you say that and you get up and walk around and meet other women, she's going to be looking at you, you're going to be looking at her. You know, maybe don't say it if it's not true, but you can certainly get up and move around. Believe me, David, your interpreter is going to make sure. Your interpreter is going to say, ladies, I'm sorry, got to move them, because we give your interpreter a sheet with a lot of blank spaces, and we tell your interpreter, come back with this sheet full. Make sure these guys are getting dates. Sometimes these guys are their own worst enemy. They walk into this environment and they freeze and they're shy. You've got to take control of that situation and gently nudge them into a comfortable place where they're meeting exactly the women they came here to meet, hitting it off, getting some great dates. And that is the interpreter translator's job. And the interpreter translator's jobs, they eat it up, they love it, they're ready for it, they're prepared for it, they've been through it before, they know what they're doing, and they won't let you sit there and get stuck. They'll say, come on, we got to go, you got to meet some other people. And they'll just take the initiative for you, but don't worry, Dave. You know that we'll handle that with kid gloves for you, buddy. Whew. All right, guys. So many classy, elegant Ukrainian women, says Jim. Can't help wondering why classy ladies such as these would want to live in a podunk town with a simple chap like me. Jim, if you're a good man with a good heart, good old-fashioned family values, and a healthy respect for women and relationships. Have you guys got this memorized by now? Because I've been saying this for years. Right? Let's say it together. It's like Sunday morning in church. If you're a good man with a good heart, good old-fashioned family values, and a healthy respect for women and relationships, if you are realistic about age difference and you get on a plane and go, you are rare in the world of foreign women. You are rare in the world of foreign women. If you sit on the internet and write letters into oblivion, you are not rare. If you chat for years without ever calling a girl up and talking to her on the phone or getting your butt on a plane to go and meet anybody you're professing love to, you are not rare. You're like tens of thousands of men that fuel this mega million-dollar industry. If you are a good guy with a good heart, good old-fashioned family values, and a healthy respect for women and relationships, you're realistic about age difference, and you're willing to get your butt on a plane to go and meet somebody, you are rare in their world. And all of these women want to meet someone like you. You know, if you live in a small town, again, put the positive spin on it. Low crime, lots of friends, people know each other, it's beautiful, right? It's not polluted, it's not a concrete jungle, it's gorgeous. We can sit in the backyard with a bonfire anytime we want. We can grow a garden and flowers, do whatever we want with our yard. If you have kids that are going to go to school, the schools are great. It's a beautiful, lovely rural environment. We can pick strawberries in the spring, have a picnic in the summer, go apple picking in the fall, have barbecues. Yeah, man, sure. And you're a loving guy, and you're going to wake up every morning and smile at her and make her laugh, right? And go and work hard, and then come home at night, make her smile and laugh some more, be the most adorable man she ever met, never do one single thing to hurt her. Dude, you're rare, right? Get your butt on a plane, buddy. Quit second guessing it. That stuff in your head, guys, the doubts in your head are what dating in America has done to you. The stuff in your head is the result of rejection for years and years in America, or that isolation. You know, it's interesting. One of the articles that I read, which talked a lot about loneliness of men in America, talked about how when men are lonely, when they start to get depressed, and then it feeds on itself. And one of the ways that it feeds on itself is they start to disintegrate their social circle because they're depressed. They stop going out as much. So they get in this lonely place, then they get a little bit depressed. Rather than talking to somebody about it or trying to find a solution or doing something proactive about it, many men, look, been there, done that. Many men start to disintegrate their social circle. They stop going out, then they become more isolated and sink further into depression, and it feeds on itself. And there's such a huge epidemic. So do not allow negative thoughts. When you hear a negative thought, I remember a long time ago, this is a completely dumb analogy. There is a movie from the 70s called I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, based on a book, all right? I'm taking you guys back. I just remember this scene in this movie, and the movie is about a young woman, and she had a traumatic thing that happened to her, and she doesn't allow herself to talk about it, you know, for therapeutic reasons. So in this movie, when she thinks about this traumatic thing that happened to her, when she starts to think about it in the movie, the first time you see her starting to think about this traumatic thing that happened to her, this great big giant black iron gate full of just swampy sludge and grease just comes slamming down, and you don't expect it, and it shocks you, and you practically jump out of your seat. And it's a fictitious thing. It's not really there. It's that defense mechanism that says, no, we're not going to go there, we're not going to allow it, you're not going there. And in her case, that was a protective thing that protected her from thinking on this traumatic thing that happened to her. But I just remember the power of that big, gigantic iron gate just coming crashing down the first time she started to think of this traumatic thing. Spin that in a positive way. I tell myself this every morning, guys, right? I mean, I literally tell myself to shut up when there's a negative thought that comes in my head, right? If I get up and I'm walking around, I'm doing my thing, if I start to go south, I will literally say, dude, shut up. I mean, just find a way to not let that negative thing grab you. Don't do that to yourself. Because I'll tell you what, when you look forward at the, look at the video you're looking at right now. You could easily put yourself, I promise you, you are no less than any of the men in this video. And there's some extremely fine men in this video. You are no less than the men in this video. You, whoever you are watching me right now, I promise you. So you could get on a plane and go and put yourself in this exact video, in this exact scenario, have this exact interaction with these women, face to face, happy to see you, great eye contact, great body language, smiling, friendly, please ask me for a date. They will tell you, absolutely you can do that. There's nothing stopping you. Do not let anything from your past, any perception of our dating in our culture, stop you from doing that, because only you will stop you from doing that. That stuff that you create in your head, when that happens to you, brother, right? Whatever you got to do, just imagine that big iron gate coming down. I'm not going there. I'm not going to allow myself to go backward. I'm not going to feel that doubt. I'm not going to doubt myself. I'm not going to listen to fear. I'm going to listen to fact. And the fact is, AFA and other companies have been around doing this for a long, long time. I don't think there are many companies doing tours these days, but the point is, it's not like we're out on an island here, right? This is a very viable way to meet somebody. There are, you know, the women, this is not a staged event. The women are real, the men are real, the testimonials are real. Tourists go abroad. Tourists go on trips. People go to Ukraine, they go to Peru, they go to Colombia all the time. When you go to Colombia, there'll be tourists all over the place, wherever you are, I guarantee, from all over the world. All kinds of them. Go to Costa Rica. Costa Rica is one of the most traveled countries in the world, guys, right? Costa Rica is so full of tourists everywhere you go. If other tourists can go to Ukraine, you can go to Ukraine. If people can go to the Philippines for 50 years, you can definitely go, right? You absolutely can. Listen to fact. Don't cave into fear. Don't allow yourself to go there. Not for 1 second allow yourself to go there. Go forward into what you're seeing right in front of you, guys, all right? It's not even football season yet, guys. I got my halftime locker room speech just ready for you. George says, what tour would you recommend to meet an English-speaking girl in her late 20s? Costa Rica, Kiev, Kherson, Medellin. If you want to meet an English-speaking girl in her late 20s, go to the Philippines. There are some in the Ukraine. Frankly, there are some in all of those countries. There aren't many, but there are some. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go and I'll meet, 5 or 6 women, and from one of them, maybe 6 or 7, something like that. I'll probably really like one and go forward with her. You can do that in every single one of the places that you just mentioned, my friend. If you want to meet a whole bunch of them, go to the Philippines. Dell says, how many women over 40 usually attend the Ukraine socials? Half of the women in any social, probably everywhere we go, but half of the women in Ukraine, Dell, are going to be over the age of 30. Half of them are going to be under the age of 30. Probably a third of the women at every social are going to be 40 and over. They're stunning and beautiful, and nobody's paying any attention to them at all. And many, many women, shucks, I have women in their 20s that this happens to, and a good number of women in their 30s, but a lot of women in their 40s in the socials will go there, sit there all night long, and nobody will say a word to him. So Dell, you know what I'm going to say, right? Go get him, baby. Go get your girl. Guys, I'm very proud of you. I really am. I feel like my message is getting through. Keeping it real, I think, is starting to pay off for a lot of you guys. And damn it, I like that a lot. Dean, Colorado, Littleton says, is it okay to choose not to dance at the socials? Is dancing a social expectation? No, it's not. Dean, it's not. You don't have to dance at all. Some of the women will dance at the end of the night. A lot of the women haven't met anybody. There are way too women at the socials, and the majority of them are going to go home without a date just because there are just too many women. Again, the math, if I take 30 guys to China and I have 300 women come to a social and all 30 guys get 3 dates, I'm going to have 210 women going home without a date, right? And that's true everywhere we go if those are the numbers. So at the end of the night, a lot of women, realize, okay, maybe it's not my night for a date, but I had a nice time. These things are rare. I never get to do this on my own, so I'm just going to enjoy myself and dance with my friends, and they'll just be happy girls dancing for half an hour or so to some music. Why not, right? We love to let them do that. But you don't have to dance if you don't want to dance. If you like to dance, that's great. I always suggest the nervous white guy dance, which is everything moves but the feet. You can practice it in the mirror if you want. It doesn't look that bad. A lot of times the dance floors are crowded, so it's not like you can, bust a move anyway. So just go out, keep it loose. Everything moves but the feet, the famous nervous white guy dance. You can always do that. Don't worry about it, Dean. It's all good. Sly says, is it common to ask women for ice cream date, short walk in these countries? I think an ice cream date can be appropriate in some places. Frankly, an ice cream date in the summertime is probably appropriate just about anywhere. Why not? Who doesn't want to go get ice cream? So why not, Sly? I would do that. In the middle of the afternoon, some dates are coffee dates, guys. Some dates are pizza and bowling. Some dates are a cocktail late at night. Some dates are dinner if it's 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. She's worked all day. She hasn't had a chance to eat yet. Something like that. So yeah, all right. Doug says, I've got some bonus minutes for a phone call. I sent some gifts to a young lady, and I got some bonus minutes for a phone call, and I want to redeem them. Good for you, Doug. It's amazing to me how many guys never call the women that they're writing to. And I'll tell you what, guys, if you've been writing to women on our site for a long time, 2 months, 3 months, or more, every girl's profile has a box to the right of it that says, call me now. And it's kind of a misnomer, if you will. You can't really call her now. But you can fill out a form to schedule a translated phone call with any girl that you're writing to. And it amazes me that a lot of men write letters for such long times and it never occurs to them to call and talk to the girl they're writing to. Dude, call her up and talk to her. Number one, she'll be thrilled to hear from you. She'll probably be shocked because nobody ever does that. But call her up and talk to her. Just say, hey, I just want you to know I'm really happy that we're writing each other and I really enjoy what we talk about. I wanted you to hear my voice. Guilty pleasure. Honestly, I just wanted to hear your voice. And now I'm going to hear your voice every time I read your letters, so you better not stop writing to me. And I really would like to come and meet you sometime soon. Would that be okay? Are you sure that we can do that? That's great. I just wanted to say hi and let you know how much I really appreciate you. Just do that. Why not? So what you can do, in your case, my friend, since you've got some credits, why don't you write to us? In fact, Liz Martin, our great customer service manager, is afa@loveme.com, Liz, and say, yo, Liz, help me set up this call. I got some credits. Want to talk to my girl. And I'm sure that she will be more than happy to help you do it. Jose says, my horoscope is a Taurus. Jose, mine as well. Do women in Ukraine date men where they are compatible with their horoscope? Where they're compatible or not compatible, they'll date them, Jose, don't worry. Taurus says, we're just so full of emotion, aren't we, Jose? But when it's war, people always want us out in front, kicking up some Yeah. All right. Jim says I don't look a day over 75. Damn it, Jim. Thank you. I knew you'd have my back. That's great, man. Mark says, how do I go about telling a lady from the Philippines about my living situation and the fact that I'm living with my family still? Mark, I got good news for you. A great many, I mean, the majority of women in the Philippines are also living with their family. And this is true of a lot of women all over the world. You know, women in the Ukraine, sometimes they live on their own. Often they live with their family. Women in Colombia often live with their family. And that's definitely true of the girl in the Philippines. So just tell her. Absolutely just tell her. And she will understand that being, you know, part of your family means getting to know your family. But dude, here's the thing, and this is very, very important. We talked about this at the seminars in the last 2 weeks. Make sure your family is on board before you bring her into what would otherwise be a hornet's nest, right? She doesn't want to come to your family and feel not welcome. That is a nightmare for any girl coming here. So if you have family members that aren't on board, guys, tell them, look, I love you, brother, sister, kids. I love you. I do, mom and dad. But you got to get on board with this because I know this person. I trust her. I love her. We're getting married. And I want you to be warm to her. I want you to have a good relationship with her. And if you're not ready for that, then that's going to limit the amount of time that we have together because I'm going to marry her. And hopefully it doesn't ever amount to that. Hopefully everybody's cool and supportive. If your family around you is cool and supportive, I hope they are, then definitely tell her that, show her that, you know, let them Skype with her, let them talk to her, let them say, hey, we can't wait to see you, can't wait for you to come here. And she'll feel great. She'll feel like she's stepping into an environment like her own family that she has in the Philippines, right? So talk to your family, make sure they're on board, and I'm sure when you tell her, she'll be absolutely fine. And if she's not, then she's clearly not the right person for you. Keep going, because I'm sure the vast majority of women would have no problem. A few more questions, guys. Great questions tonight. Thank you so much for keeping it going. These Monday night calls are great. All right. Okay. Brian says, hey, bud. I'm talking to this girl in the Philippines, planning to go to a social in Davao next year, wondering, can I let her know that I want to invite her to the social in my letters, or will you invite her to the socials and leave my name anonymous? You know, it's not that complicated, Brian. You can let her, especially in the Philippines, you can let her know that you're going to come on the tour and invite her to the social, and you want to meet her at the social and participate in the full entire tour. But of course, that you're hoping that her meeting, your meeting, the two of you together will be the highlight of your tour. Just put it like that. She'll be fine. No worries. Anyway, Sly says, I wonder what the most popular ice cream flavor in Ukraine is. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, Sly, right now the most popular ice cream flavor in Ukraine is a Coca-Cola flavored ice cream. And it's a dark black ice cream, and you see it everywhere. It's very, very popular. Strange, Coca-Cola flavored ice cream. I had it once. I don't know if it tasted like Coke necessarily, but anyhow, that's what it was. All right, a couple more questions, guys. Eddie is wondering about style tips. Who do we call for dress tips on our trips to Ukraine? Well, I'll tell you what, Eddie, there are a number of fashion, style-oriented blogs. Just do a Google search for men style blog or men European style blog. And, you know, some of them are way out there. You're probably not going to wear, you know, some, right? Pants above the ankles with no socks and dress shoes. I don't know if you're going to do that, but you'll definitely see some that show you how to wear a shirt in a proper way, you know, a slim fitting shirt versus a baggy one, how to wear a scarf if you're going during the time of the year when you can wear a scarf. So just do a Google search for men's casual style blogs. All kinds of them will come up, and I bet that will work. Another person who's really good to talk to is Anna, who I work with, who's from Russia. You can always call her up and talk to her and just ask her politely for any style advice that she might have. She may have some resources for you, or she's a great resource as well. Go to China, says Steve. How or who will you help me get the visa you need to go? We use a website, Steve. When people go to China, we use a website we send our clients to. Most of them use this website, get their visa with absolutely no problem. So when you book a tour to China, we will let you know what that is. You will go to it, and you will definitely get your visa, and there will be no problem, right? Would you recommend, says Joseph, wearing a suit in Kiev for a date in the summer? Dude, you're going to roast. Kiev in the summer is warm, really, really, really warm. I'm talking 80s, 90s, occasionally a little bit over 100, and a little bit of humidity. So if you're inside, you know, you could take a sport coat with you, so that if the air conditioning in a particular place is ramped up, I've not experienced that in Ukraine. The air conditioning is always on in restaurants and cafes and hotels and such, and it's usually just comfortable. I've never, in Phoenix is kind of interesting. It's so warm here that sometimes we kind of overreact to it. So there are times when you're outside and it's so incredibly hot, you think you're going to just die, and then you step inside of an establishment and the air conditioning is so cold. The city buses are like that here in Phoenix, man. It's like you got to take a sweater just to ride the bus, and then when you get off, you got to peel everything off because it's so incredibly hot. I don't think you'll need to wear a suit on a date in the summertime. I think you'll sweat all over the place. I think nice, thin cotton shirts. I think very casual slacks that are nice and loose and comfortable, that won't cling to you because they're a little soaked from your sweat. Sorry to be graphic, but you know what I'm saying. Just comfortable loose clothing, dressier shoes, keep it casual, and I think that will always be very, very appropriate. Polo shirts are great, V-neck short sleeve shirts and jeans and dress shoes are always good, that kind of thing, right? Yeah. All right, guys, there's a seminar this Saturday in Southern California, specifically San Diego. John Adams, our CEO, will be there to answer your questions and tell you all about why we do what we do, how we do it, and why you need to be a part of it, and how to fix your loneliness. That's what we're dedicated to. We're here because we were out in front of you guys. How many sites do you know of that do what we do? And I'm going to ask you right now, think of all the sites that you know, the sites you've visited, think of the sites that you spend money on, or sites you've ever used. Now tell me who their CEO is. If you don't know who their CEO is, why do business with them? Seriously. I mean, seriously. The one thing I can say for John, there are many things I could say for John, but the one thing I would say most about John, it's both wonderful and completely annoying when you're in the middle of an employee review or a very important meeting, but he will answer his phone no matter what. He always answers. I don't know, I've never had a boss who's as dedicated to answering his phone as he is, and he answers his phone. So he likes to get out in front of you guys and talk about who we are and why we do what we do. You can go to his seminar this Saturday, an international dating seminar in San Diego at the Hotel Indigo. We'll give you the address and good information and RSVP to make sure you're seated comfortably and not standing up in the back or out on the hallway or out in the parking lot because there are so many guys trying to get in. Make an RSVP, guys, bud@loveme.com. It's this Saturday, 11 to 3 in San Diego, John's International Dating Seminar, so check it out. Thanks for your questions tonight. Guys, I recognize a lot of the same names, which means we're friends and we're family, and I'm really thankful for you. I want you to know that. Listen to me. I told you at the beginning of the year that this was going to be a significant year for you and for me, right? And we talked about that briar patch analogy, right? That sometimes life brings you to a briar patch, throws it right in front of you and says, I'm sorry, but there's a reason for this. You can't see it until you get on the other side, but you've got to go through this briar patch. Sometimes happiness isn't going to happen without great sacrifice, because if you don't make the great sacrifice, when you get to the happiness, you're going to take it for granted. This is a lesson that life teaches us. So you have the briar patch of your loneliness right in front of you. I have my own briar patch in front of me, right? We decided together at the beginning of this year that we were going to pick up our sword, get on our horse, and I'm not talking Don Quixote here, right? And we're going to charge that briar patch, cut that thing to shreds, get to our happiness because we're good men with good hearts and love to give, and we're going to have what we came here to get. It's halfway through 2019, right? We still have another half of this year, but it's going to fly, and you know it. Just be a man on fire. Just be a man in motion. Do not settle. Do not get stagnant. Do not sit down and stay in that seated position. Just be up, moving around. There's so many things that you can do. Walk every day. Lose a little bit of weight. If you walk every day and just watch what you eat a little bit, you will lose weight, I promise you. If you need to lose weight, then go do it. Get fit. Join a gym. Do whatever it is that you can do. If you can't buy a tour right now, if you can't buy a ticket and get on a plane, there are other things that you can do. Start learning the language, right? We were talking about learning the language a little bit. Go to Memrise, MEMRISE.com, or Duolingo. $10 a month, take all the lessons you want. You can learn all kinds of words and phrases. Just go and do some of that, but stay in motion. Don't stop until you get what you came here to get, right? Right, all sworn in. Thank you for your questions. So by the way, being here every Monday night, asking these questions, getting them out of the way, having a week to dwell on the answers and think a little bit and move forward, that is definitely progress, my friend, right? I'm thankful for you and proud of you. I'm most thankful and proud of Kirk behind the scenes, who makes this happen for me every Monday night. And this is the favorite part of my job, quite frankly, because I know that I reach a very large audience. So yeah, guys, Saturday, go to John's International Dating Seminar. And then is Rona on this week? Oh, it's the holiday. Probably not. She is. Wow. How about that? Gee whiz. All right, so guys, Wednesday night, same time, same place. Little Miss Rana from the Philippines is going to be here to answer your questions around international dating, specifically in the Philippines. I know a lot of you watch. She's got a great audience, man. Quite frankly, I'm just the opening act. That girl is it, man, right? But she's really a great personality. So join us on Wednesday night if you have an eye toward the Philippines, and we will see you soon, gentlemen, all right? Have a great holiday, great 4th, great week. Talk to you soon.